boring life of Rent, a not-so-great adventurer from a small town. He dreams of reaching Mytril-class status, but after 10 years of trying, he's stuck as a not-so-smart bronze-class adventurer, doing basic missions day in and day out, just like anyone with a regular job. But before we delve into that, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more fantastic anime recommendations. Rent wakes up early each day, but his dreams of greatness don't match his reality. The Adventurer Guild sorts missions by difficulty to avoid unnecessary risks. Looking at the available missions, Rent realizes they're all pretty lame. So, he decides to check out the old labyrinth. Even though everyone already explored it, Rent finds a hidden passage. Instead of reporting it to the guild, he gets greedy, hoping to find some treasures. Inside a room, he comes face to face with a huge dragon. Scared stiff, Rent thinks he's done for. But surprise, the dragon just munches on its breakfast, sparing Rent's life. Hours later, Rent gets up, shocked to see he's turned into an ugly skeleton. Now undead, Rent thinks about going back to town, but priests or bishops could destroy him with magic. As he moves through the labyrinth, Rent thinks about the mysterious labyrinths scattered around the world, filled with treasures. He can't talk anymore, so he considers waiting for a new adventurer to ask for help. Suddenly, a new challenger emerges, another skeleton. Rent, determined to face it with his sword, grapples with the challenge of combat without muscles. His sword swing, initially full of intent, results in an unexpected stumble. Meanwhile, the other skeleton, grappling with its own calcium issues, loses a leg bone and takes a tumble. In the challenging reality of his undead existence, Rent grapples with the difficulty of facing monsters without sword techniques or muscles. In a sudden revelation, he discovers an unexpected ability, the capacity to use spirit energy to enhance his physical attributes, even in his skeletal form. Empowered by this newfound skill, Rent successfully obliterates the menacing skeleton, witnessing the bone pile emit a radiant glow infused with pixie powder. Realizing that he has just recovered the spirit energy expended, Rent recalls a conversation with his friend Lorraine, a researcher who once mentioned the possibility of monsters evolving into different species. Lorraine emphasized existential evolution, the idea of skeletons transforming into ghouls. This memory sparks Rent's interest, seeing a potential solution, evolving into a ghoul to restore some semblance of flesh. Motivated by the prospect of covering himself with clothes and returning to town inconspicuously, Rent decides to embark on a mission to defeat monsters in the labyrinth for a chance to evolve. Swiftly dispatching 5 skeletons, he experiences a gradual improvement in mobility with each conquest. The healing effect following each victory allows him to consistently harness spirit energy in subsequent battles. During his quest for evolution, Rent encounters a seemingly feeble foe, a slime. Despite its apparent weakness, defeating a slime presents a challenge, requiring either piercing its core or wearing it down until regeneration becomes impossible. Suddenly, Rent displays remarkable agility, skillfully evading the slime's attacks as if anticipating its every move. In an unexpected stroke of luck, his sword finds its mark on the core with precise accuracy on the first attempt. Opting to hold onto the magic stone, he also gathers the slime fluid, recognizing its potential worth in the flourishing cosmetic market. As time passes, Rent discovers a unique advantage of his undead state, the absence of a need for sleep or sustenance. This allows him to focus entirely on honing his combat skills to achieve evolution. Despite the progress made in regaining physical abilities, using mana and divine power, Rent grapples with a sense of melancholy. Having spent a decade as a feeble adventurer and now facing the afterlife, he contemplates the unusual twists his journey has taken. In the realm of adventurers, Rent stands out as a rarity, possessing the ability to wield spirit energy, mana, and divine power. However, his proficiency in these skills is meager, making them nothing more than basic. Despite being labeled as trash, Rent yearns for strength and dreams of attaining the prestigious Mytril-class, the pinnacle of adventurer classes. Undeterred by his skeletal state, he resolves to pursue his goal. Taking on more monsters, Rent soon realizes a surprising twist. He's growing stronger as a skeleton than he ever did as a human. Following the defeat of yet another slime, he senses a distinct shift in power. In a surprising twist, Rent's skeletal structure undergoes a profound metamorphosis, sprouting muscles, hair, skin, and even eyes. The revelation strikes him with awe. He has triumphantly evolved into a ghoul, now equipped with the ability to produce sounds through his newly formed mouth. A wave of happiness washes over Rent as he revels in the sensation of having flesh covering his bones, even if it's on the drier side. This achievement fuels his determination, prompting him to contemplate the prospect of reaching higher echelons of undead existence, perhaps attaining the status of a vampire through diligent effort. Eager to test his newfound vocal abilities, Rent attempts to speak, only to produce a roar initially. Through dedicated training, he manages to utter simple greetings like hello and good morning. However, the lingering undertone of a zombie-like sound prompts him to continue refining his speech, pushing himself to sound less like the undead creature. In the heart of the dungeon, Rent faces a group of goblins, knowing their collective strength can be perilous. Using the dungeon's layout to his advantage, he skillfully separates and defeats each goblin in one-on-one encounters. Taking a moment to assess his own transformation, Rent realizes he has evolved into a ghoul, granting him the ability to strengthen not only himself but also his sword. As the defeated goblins regroup for another assault, Rent effortlessly dispatches them with a swing of his enhanced sword. However, his satisfaction is short-lived as the distant clash of swords catches his attention. In another section of the dungeon, a girl battles skeletal monsters, visibly fatigued but determined. It's a rare sight for Rent, who hasn't encountered another human in the dungeon for a long time. Desiring to approach the girl, Rent restrains himself, mindful of his ghoul appearance that could evoke fear or hostility. Opting to observe from a distance, he watches as she collects drops from defeated skeletons. Unfamiliar with her, he assumes she's a rookie, given his knowledge of most adventurers in the city. Following her movements, Rent witnesses her combat skills as she faces a skeleton in a corridor. While she displays good technique, her weakness forces her to land multiple blows and dodge incessant attacks. A critical oversight leads the skeleton to back her against the wall, setting the stage for potential danger. With no other choice, Rent intervenes, drawing the skeleton's attention by screaming. Hoping the girl would seize the opportunity, Rent takes down the skeleton with a swift divinity skill. Approaching her to offer help, he's met with horror at his ghoul-like appearance. Attempting to calm her, Rent introduces himself as an adventurer who has somehow survived death. Misunderstanding his words, she assumes he's in a Halloween costume. Rent clarifies, disclosing his undead existence after passing away. Though grateful for being saved, the girl remains cautious. Rent assures her of no harm but urgently seeks help for clothes. Expressing his wish to return to Malt, he proposes a deal, leaving a bag of coins and instructing her to keep the change after acquiring the necessary clothes. Walking away, Rent watches as Rena moves forward to pick up the bag of coins. Pleading for her assistance, he learns her name is Rena, the daughter of a knight. Grateful, she promises to repay her debt to him. Rent leads her back to the dungeon entrance, and she assures him she'll return for him. Observing her cautious demeanor, Rent senses she's acting like a proper adventurer. Aware that reporting a ghoul to the guild is common, he trusts Rena won't betray him. Though he hesitates to doubt her, Rent acknowledges that if he's wrong, he'll deal with the consequences later. With that, he re-enters the dungeon. While Rena reunites with Sheila in the city, Sheila, visibly relieved at Rena's unharmed return, can't help but express concern about her delayed arrival after sunset. Rena shares the unfolding events and poses a crucial question to Sheila. Meanwhile, within the dungeon's depths, Rent faces off against a glob monster, marveling at the newfound strength accompanying his ghoul transformation. Emerging victorious against the monster, Rent is astonished by his heightened combat intuition, allowing him to anticipate the core's movements, an unexpected skill gained through his transformation into a ghoul. Startled by this newfound ability, Rent responds to Rena's call, discovering her return with a sack in the dungeon's depths. As Rent cautiously nears, Rena unsheathes her sword, stepping back to discern whether he's Rent or a random ghoul. Affirming his identity, Rent elaborates that ghouls seldom surface in the dungeon's early levels. Witnessing Rent's enhanced communication skills, Rena relaxes, handing over the sack with his robe and approaching to set aside his change. However, as Rent reaches for the robe, she takes a step back, apologizing for still feeling a bit scared. Understanding her hesitation, Rent reassures her and expresses his understanding. He mentions wanting to take a look at the clothes and opens the sack, revealing a plain-colored robe that would disguise him as a mage. Rent appreciates the choice and declares it perfect. Rena reveals that she also bought other items she thought he might need, including gloves, shoes, and bandages to cover his arms and legs. She explains that she asked around to find the best shops in Malt. Grateful for her thoughtful efforts, Rent acknowledges the practicality of the items and the importance of hiding his undead features. Rent, touched by Rena's kindness, assures her, mentioning his inability to shed tears. Trying on the clothes, he undergoes a remarkable transformation, finding it much easier to move than expected. The hood, limiting visibility, doesn't hinder his ability to fight monsters. Rina inquires about the clothes, and Rent affirms their perfection. Impressed by his imposing appearance resembling a powerful mage, Rina holds up a mirror for him. Rent acknowledges standing out too much. When attempting to pull down the hoodie proves futile, Rina produces a mask from the sack. Intrigued, Rent asks Rina about the mask. She clarifies that she believed it would be unwise for him to enter town without the mask, given his status as a special type monster. Holding the mask to his face, Rent watches as it magically attaches itself. Despite initial concerns about curses, Rina reassures him that she checked for curses, and it was shockingly cheap at the market stall. Rent deduces that the curse activates when the mask is worn. With determination to break the curse, he activates his divinity skill, surprising Rina. Unfortunately, he runs out of energy before succeeding. Apologizing for bringing a cursed item, Rina expresses concern, but Rent reassures her, mentioning the necessity of hiding his face. He explains that the mask responded to divinity, and the solution is to hire a cleric to break the curse. Rent, attempting to comfort Rina, pats her shoulder, but he worries it might be too intrusive and backs up. Unexpectedly, Rina grabs his hand and expresses that she's no longer scared of him. Holding her hand, Rent tells her she doesn't need to force herself to like him immediately. Rina insists that it won't take long for her to get used to Rent's presence. They make the decision to head back to the city and leave the dungeon. In the carriage, Rina mentions that she signed up as a guild member in the capital city but encountered tough competition from more established adventurers. As a rookie, she struggled to secure jobs, prompting someone to suggest trying malt. Rent expresses surprise that she came all the way to the countryside, and Rina reveals her desire to see the outside world. Rina reveals her ambition to become a stronger and skilled adventurer rapidly. However, Rent advises caution, emphasizing the critical importance of being careful as adventurers have only one life. Upon reaching the city, Rent is hesitant to follow Rina, citing his recognition among the residents. He explains that presenting his ID at the gate might arouse suspicions. Rina suggests using another gate that's less frequented, and Rent appreciates her assistance, acknowledging that he has come this far because of her. However, he expresses concern about causing trouble for Rina and potentially jeopardizing her adventurer's license. Undeterred, Rina reassures Rent that she will continue assisting him even after he passes through the gate. As they near the alternate gate, the guards ask for their IDs. Rina passes smoothly, but when Rent is about to do the same, the guards question his unusual appearance. When asked to remove the mask, Rina explains its cursed nature and Rent's fatal injury in a monster fight. Revealing a scarred part of his ear, Rent convinces the guards to let them pass, promising to donate money to a church for a cleric to help remove the mask. As Rent expresses gratitude to Rina, he takes advantage of a distraction and disappears, deciding to stay away from her to avoid ruining her guild life. In the evening, Rent looks for a human collaborator and knocks on the door of a house. When no one answers, he lets himself in and finds a woman sleeping on the couch. Waking up to the threat of a book dropping on her head, Lorraine is startled by Rent's ghoul-like appearance, leading her to inquire about what happened and get ready for an epic journey. Hit subscribe now and be part of the adventure unfolding in the next video.